You know, I looked at this work here about a minute ago and I said to myself, is this abstraction? Is this abstraction or am I looking at something else? Am I staring into the heart of technology itself? I said to myself. Artist Journal, February 14th, 2023, broadcasting from Berlin, Germany, which doesn't like Valentine's Day. Let me tell you, Valentine's Day is not too cool out in Berlin, which kind of, you know, gives me it puts a soft spot in my heart for Berlin, maybe for that reason. I wish my girlfriend happy Valentine's Day. She's like, you're so North American, which is kind of hilarious. But anyway, welcome back, everyone. And again, I'm thrilled for you to be here. Thank you for all the support as usual. So look at this incredible work. And again, this is tuukzs, who we were just looking at yesterday and the day before, where he was mentioning, where tuukzs was mentioning that tuukzs is using ChatGPT to create the prompt for the Midjourney. They were using ChatGPT and Midjourney. So pretty fascinating. And when you look at it, now, tuukzs did say that they were kind of, you know, putting or mixing variations together. So there is some human editing at some point here, perhaps. But I mean, you look at this and it really does feel like machine art, doesn't it? So anyways, and look at the great contrast here with the soft, kind of, you see that how it fades out with the almost like print. You know, it fades out here on the side, this gradient, and then the hard shapes in the middle creating this hard contrast. And then this mysterious thing right here, which maybe just adds a nice kind of grounding element to the whole composition. Almost makes it representational, as if this is a tree or a vase of flowers, you know. So anyway, interesting work. This is on Super Rare. Enigma, great title, tuukzs. And this went yesterday for an ETH, $1,500 on February 13th. And it was listed on February 10th. Pablo Picasso, who we see quite a bit, is kind of on a tear as well. Let's just see if we see any more details here. Then we're going to run through this episode as per usual. Enigma is a mesmerizing, abstract piece created with artificial intelligence. It features a chaotic, yet harmonious mix of shapes, colors, and lines that seems to be in constant state of flux. The overall effect is one of an enigmatic beauty as the viewer is drawn into a seemingly infinite abyss of abstract forms. Good writer. The artist has created a truly unique and captivating abstract work that challenges the viewer to find meaning and coherence amidst the chaos. Whether viewed up close or from a distance, Enigma is sure to leave a lasting impression on anyone who encounters it. Well, it sure does. So anyways, pretty interesting. And I brought up tuukzs' other work here. So we see the evolution, and of course we've looked at tuukzs' work on object as well. And kind of a similar evolution, but, you know, putting out some different series. So anyways, it kind of looks and feels like a bit of a breakthrough work. Maybe that's just the hard contrast that makes it feel that way. But it definitely turned my head. I mean, again, you feel like you're staring into the heart of a machine, okay? Deliriously wild, borderline deranged, psychedelic, multisensory outburst. So out of Brazil. And we love that over here, the internationalism. Speaking of internationalism, tomorrow, Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in New York and 3:30 in Berlin, Gogolitus is joining us for a Twitter Spaces, is joining me and Runetoon for a wonderful pixel art salon. And I'm going to ask Gogolitus all about his work and everything pixel art and what his thoughts are on pixel art. So that should be a ton of fun. I have pinned this on my Twitter. So if you want to check that out, just put a little reminder there and you can attend. And I believe Gogolitus is out of France. So again, this very international crowd, and of course Runetoon's in New York, I'm in Berlin, and then everybody who shows up, it should be a ton of fun. Come hang out with Gogolitus. I mean, it sounds wonderful. And this is Gogolitus, okay? So an awesome pixel artist. It's called ScrollFlow XY. So it looks like using a bunch of sliders. I don't think it's for sale yet, and just minted yesterday. So again, we see these gorgeous colors here that are put onto his latest work here. And we also saw it with the one that was out yesterday. Increasing the size of the signature too. Again, sometimes taking breaks is really great to just come back fresh, and then you just start making all these little changes. I love it. I find signatures in digital art to be a really fascinating kind of subject, because I think by default, we don't really sign our work typically, but I love it. I think One Don't Knows also signs his work, and there are a couple of others that I can't think of off the top of my head, but not many people sign their work. I think maybe Popple signs his work, so it's something that I think about as an artist, because sometimes I've tried, say, with just a signature, and sometimes it doesn't always feel right, so anyway, a nice clean solution from Gogolitus here. So again, come hang out. That should be a ton of fun. That'll go out on Rug Radio, and that'll be out on Spotify. So we're not only are we multi-chain and multimedia, we're multi-platform. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitter, and it's tempting. Again, I don't want to take too long here, but you might find this interesting. I mean, you look at the Twitter blue, and all the check mark and everything, but the video, you can upload high HD video. So that kind of also feeds into this whole idea of multi-platform, right? And I think that's the way to go. I mean, Farouk at Rug Radio, he calls it, he says everyone is their own platform, which I think is another way of basically saying go multi-platform, you kind of, because it's just, why not? And I also think, again, the short form, take snippets from the Twitter Spaces, and then you put those out on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, etc. I mean, and that stuff gets pushed hard by the platforms right now. Anyway, gorgeous work from Gogolitus here. All over the place today. So we were discussing curation yesterday, and I have a few more examples here coming up. And so designcollector, thank you for chiming in. As for Worlds, this is what they're calling their curated product, for lack of a better term. On Foundation, I was wondering out loud to myself, do you need permission of the artist to make a curated collection? And I kind of like this idea of not, because I think then it's just, there's nothing stopping you, and you can just start to gather stuff together. But I do understand this idea of not, maybe needing to get permission. Anyway, designcollector has said you have to have a list of agreed accounts that will list work into the world. So as it stands, you have to have a agreed. But, it brings up, like, you look at the analogy of DJ playlists. Like, am I asking the Beatles or am I asking the Rolling Stones if I can put it in? And what would happen to, say, even great techno DJs if they had to ask permission of everybody to put it into their playlist? And what would that do to the art of DJing? So just, maybe this is different, though. Maybe this is different. So just kind of fun to think about, though. And shout out to uczine. And this is not over. I mean, it's human nature. We tend to forget tragedy pretty quickly. And so anyways, this is not over. Thank you, Pocobelli, for spreading the news about TezQuakeAid. And I think it's just important we keep it top of mind. As I said, the numbers are hard to process. I mean, the last I looked, it's like, I think the UN has estimated 50,000 people dead. And I think right now the tally is at like 33 or 35,000. So yeah, so continue to support this. And if you want to know how to mint work in order to donate, look at the last video and you can find details on that. Shout out to uczine and all our Turkish and Syrian artists out there. Here's a work by uczine. You can't help but feel, this was just posted on Twitter, and you can't help but feel with that title that, that this has something to do with the situation alive. So, and it's interesting to see, like, I mean, uczine was kind of like a machine there, and ever since the quake, I mean, yeah, it probably helps you reassess everything, and yeah. So anyway, he is making work, and as artists do, alive. I want to return to this. We looked at this yesterday, but there's a huge, hilarious detail that I missed. And it was here. It's Cozomo. This is by Rare, of course, the digital painter who does the Boston Dynamics dogs. And beautiful light here, too, as I was mentioning yesterday. But this is what I missed. You see the green hand and the green face with the purple sunglasses? That is Cozomo de Medici there that he has put in the armor. So another substitution there, a hilarious detail from Rare. So just wanted to point that out because I only noticed it after. I'm often very late to figure this stuff out. My girlfriend is much faster at noticing and observing these kinds of things, but I do eventually figure it out. And so this was just while we're here. Jello peas, this was just an interesting little detail. It looks like ringers. So this is a ringer by Dmitry Cherniak, by artblocks.io artist Dmitry Cherniak, along with many other grails, is now in the permanent collection of the Los Angeles Contemporary Museum of Art, LACMA, thanks to Cozomo Medici. So it's kind of interesting, right? Because then they have the Medici Collection, which again, I feel it's a little too close to the original Medicis, but we'll let that slide for everything that Cozomo de Medici has done for the space. But yeah, so you go to the LACMA, and then you'll see the Medici Collection here, and then you'll see, so I don't know if he's donated. It'd be strange to see him donate the CryptoPunk, but maybe I assume it's a partnership. So anyways, interesting though. I guess the moral of this story is, the institutions have not forgotten this space, as one would expect. So there is movement there. And here is a funny one also by Rare that he just posted on Twitter here. A Boston Dynamics dog creating problems for its owner inside here. A bad boy, 1 of 1 on the 15th. So you can get that tomorrow. You can bid on that. And just back to this curated, the value of curation for artists here. So Sabato, holy, Pre-Sal got a bid for 0.33 ETH, and it's going for the next 20 hours. Big thank you to site.eth for kicking off the auction. I'm speechless. So this was in that show that we were looking at yesterday with the RJ. And so isn't that great? And again, this is a work that I think originally Sabato was trying to get on form function with, and then didn't work out. And then, so here it is on ETH. So all to say, like, he's had this work for a few months, as far as I understand. And again, the power of curation to kind of rebring attention to works. I brought up a few others here too. So this is from Foundation's homepage, and then you click on one of the worlds, which again is what they use for the curated shows. So here's GM World. And again, it's just like you see the shopping experience for the collector here, or even just the art, someone who's interested in art. It's a really nice way to kind of put order into the chaos, right, of digital art, collecting and everything. So here's another one, Yoga Bonito. And here again, so, I love seeing this, and I think it's really exciting, and I'm kind of waiting for Object to get on this. And again, I would love to see it where, as long as things aren't being combined with like offensive imagery, I don't see any problem, with if you could just start assembling whatever, you don't even need to own it. I think it would be really fun, because what that does, it's kind of like an open gate policy, but it kind of lets the curators go wild. And then you can find all sorts of talents out there that maybe don't want to be hassled with messaging people, can I do this? And all of a sudden it's just like, it could really push the space forward. So just food for thought, just an idea. Feel free to disagree. And here's another one, Love, curated by Funganon. And of course, uczine here. It's beautiful work here. So again, I'm just kind of all over this. This looks like Demon Ego. And I think also here by seeing familiar artists here, Flannel Collective, and I think they had one that, yeah, we were looking at Luciana the other day. By seeing, we see how small the space is here too in these curated collections. Like we see a lot of familiar artists here. Like this isn't like tens of thousands of artists coming in. I feel like we have a few hundred. You know, Rare says maybe this space is a few thousand people. I totally agree. And back to posting work on Twitter. So I just came across this work here by Complex, and I thought, oh, that's a pretty interesting, you know, kind of still life-ish kind of work. GM from the RBI Dog, originally a 1-of-1, will now be split into 15 editions. So it's back to this idea. So I went to Complex's thing, and I went to the links. An interesting description here, making art about our ordinary lives. It's kind of a pop art feel to it, or pop art approach. And so then I started looking, I was like, oh, they're on Super Rare. And so again, this discovery through posting on Twitter is extremely powerful. I keep telling myself, you know. So anyways, yeah, so you see like eggs here, and it's pretty interesting. I mean, the sales are impressive. And it, you know, at the same time, and you see the depth and how many artists there are in this space by virtue of how many we discover every day. So that is the other side of it here. So Banana Split was posted a few weeks ago, January 24th, and it looks like it went to Nifty Nika. So just kind of interesting work here. There's a lot of illustration in this episode. It's kind of the illustration photography episode, a tiny bit here. And so anyways, I thought it was just kind of interesting to see here, a little bit of texture in the background here, almost a print feel to it. And remember how we saw Debbie T made that gorgeous, I think, giclée print? And this stuff, this work here is just crying out for that same treatment, isn't it? So anyways, and again, so we don't know how much this one went for, but this person sells complex or so complexed, yeah, so complexed or complexed sells for pretty serious. This one was transferred, so we don't know the price on that one either. Really cool. Again, gives a Wayne Thiebaud kind of pop feel to it in terms of its theme. In terms of its execution, it's just super modern, looks like digital art. You know, digital illustration is what I call this. But I mean, this gives us a clue as to what these are going for. 6 ETH. So again, Strawberry Sundae here. So again, you know, pretty impressive, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here. And interesting perspective here too. You know, like here you see, I guess, you know, kind of a 3/4 view or kind of looking down at the Sundae. But then you see the spoon here is kind of like, looks like straight down on its perspective, and kind of same with the tablecloth. So interesting things going on here. This is not just a simple, you know, transcription of a photo, so to speak, with some decoration. So anyways, 6 ETH, deluxe with extra toppings. When was this? This was just recently, January 2nd. So super impressive. And another illustrator on Super Rare, and I think I saw this on the Super Rare bot, won an auction for half an ETH, and this is Voodoo Salad, Wrong Turn. So again, just kind of interesting, right? And I'm tempted to start placing this into like a 1960s psychedelia, you know, Zap Comics type illustration, but it doesn't quite, like, it's maybe just a tiny bit, but it's a distant reference. And so sometimes you're just forced to actually look at the image for itself before you put on all these abstract categorizations. And what do we see? We see a dinosaur kind of head with a human hand and human feet, and all this kind of wild imagery coming out of a, what looks like a medieval city block, or maybe like a circus type thing with a river street. So pretty interesting. Even the clouds. Look at the clouds and the red, orange sky. So half an ETH for all that creativity is not a bad deal. Ginger Shot was cruising with his friend and saw a small town near the city. They never would have thought what awaits them when they entered. Pretty cool, right? I mean, I'm not sure where Voodoo Salad is from. The middle of nowhere is where they're from. Illustrator from the middle of nowhere. And here's some of Voodoo Salad's other work. And You know, you see, to me, this looks like a more complex composition. Like, again, we're seeing this evolution. Here it's kind of straight on, and then side by side, straight on, and then 3/4, straight on, straight on, straight on. And then, like, this is a pretty complex composition. So, pretty cool. It looks great. Voodoo Salad, another new artist. Ezra Eslin. And this is she's based out of Istanbul, as far as I remember. And so this is for TezQuakeAid. It's not listed loud and clear, but this is going to be, all proceeds will be donated. And so this is Vanessa with a cool, earring for a tooth. So who knows, maybe this is a friend of hers or something. Pretty cool work from Ezra Eslin. Interesting colors too. Using the sparkles again. And in her trademark, instantly recognizable style, edition of 300, buy for 5, and raise some money for TezQuakeAid. And here is more. So another illustrator. Now this one I saw, I think, from the flannel world that we were just looking at. And it brought me back to, what about this artist? We looked at them maybe a couple of months ago. They're in the Super Chief world. And so this is available, just minted, Crybaby, and this is on Superworld. So very cool, and just a really cool illustrator here. What is their name again? Yoznie. So very cool, and the reserve is going up. Went up from 3 to 5, and they're a pretty cool artist. Again, super original. So lots of illustrators here. Bit of a tarot card feel to it, tiny bit. And here's some of their other work on Foundation, 50 collectors. Curated in one world, and here it is. So just kind of cool. Again, kind of has that Rider tarot deck feel to it a tiny bit for a context. So anyways, really cool. I think I was mentioning that the last time I saw their work. Very cool. And of course, we could not have a show without Flora Marquez here. And this looks like a bit of a jester here. I love how, you know what this reminds me of too, these works, is those drawings that you'll see sometimes for like costume designers for like a play. Let's say you were designing, that's what my grandma used to do. Shout out to Nana, wherever you are out there. And it kind of reminds me of those, designs you would see for costumes in a play. And so this is really cool. Maybe that's why I like Flora Marquez's work so much. Let's look for things to celebrate. Absolutely. And so this probably went for 15. Went for a song to Melodora. So very, very cool work. And again, just love it. Daniel W. with a new one. And this is really interesting as well. Always learned here from Daniel W. So this has to do with alchemy. And this is in alchemy, one of the central images is the mixing, not the mixing jar, but the mixing bowl where you mix everything. And anyway, check out Daniel W.'s write-up, stage 4. I guess he's taking you through the stages of the alchemical stages, literally. And this is rubido, the redness of life. It must have what the alchemists called the rubido, the redness of life. So you can read this for yourself. We will keep going, but Carl Jung, of course, was very interested in alchemy and kind of saw it as a bit of a, would this be like a psychological template? I don't know. We need to revisit that. But he was very obsessed with alchemy and kind of, I think, what it represented from a psychological, again, like this idea that when you mix something and then it comes out transformed, that this, could be applied to the soul and to psychology and this sort of thing. Kind of a distant analogy. And Terence McKenna actually has some fascinating lectures that you can find online on alchemy, which I highly recommend. He probably explains it quite well, the connection there. Anyway, cool work, lest we forget the drawing here. Classic Daniel W. Available for 6, edition of 36. Great topic. As usual, Day and Night by Puya, a new artist. I think Gogolitus retweeted this. I thought it was pretty cool. Just an interesting work on object here. And a simple kind of day and night piece with some nice animation and a river going through both. Pretty cool. Uniting both the windows here. An animated landscape illustration depicting Puya world, showcasing various multiverses that have distinct styles. This is my main world featuring my personal touch. So Puya, a new artist to check out. Buy for 15. Is that on secondary? Yes. And just very quickly, this went for 550 on primary. Gloomtube with an interesting kind of illustrative Mickey Mouse reference. Looks like a 1920s Mickey Mouse with a gloomtube head on it. Back in the day, buy for 389, edition of 100. I actually won one of these because I've collected a gloomtube one of one way back when they were cheap. Much cheaper, let's put it that way. And as part of that, you get a collector card. And with that collector card, you get in a draw every time he mints a work, and then he gives 3 people an edition or something like that, or one person, or whatever the case may be. So that's a cool mechanic too, and just another feature of the NFT digital art space. So back in the day, a nice reference to, one would assume, Mickey Mouse. And continuing on, Kappa Sage, Pain and Ambition in the Digital. Now, Kappa Sage has been referencing a lot of his own work in his works. So here we see it again. So this is a Kappa Sage, and this is a whole bunch of Kappa Sage works down here. And this one I haven't seen, but maybe a reference to Turkey, perhaps. Not sure. And so a more mysteriousness and almost like a camouflage on the, on the skin here. And a turkey. So anyway, and a Pepe the Frog kind of, toy. So anyways, just kind of mysterious here. Buy for 6, edition of 12. This is probably going to be gone by the time you check. And here's another work by Board Me Social Club, who we also like to follow here. An interesting pop art reference. Kind of looks like Ronald McDonald with a Star of Satan there, right in the middle there. Not sure. And adding to the face here and maybe giving the finger. So all sorts of outrageousness here and interest. And this, so who knows what's going on here. A bunch of happy faces, a couple of ghosts. So the surrealism, and almost another Mickey Mouse reference here. The surrealism continues with Board Me Social Club. Tree of Life with Ronald McDonald there. Maybe that's, truer than I'm comfortable with here. Edition of 15 for 5. And look at Dan Control continuing to push the envelope here with Lara Croft, a fictional character. So, of course, this is from Tomb Raider. And he kind of blocked her out in terms of just, she is presenting as a highly intelligent and athletic British archaeologist who ventures into ancient tombs and hazardous ruins around the world. And it looks like he kind of gave her a bit of a Minecraft treatment or something, kind of a blocky treatment. So just kind of interesting work from Dan Control. That was on Instagram. I didn't see it minted anywhere. Santiago, Never Find Me. Raw output from text to image tools and GIMP. So again, I assume there's some AI in here, and then put into GIMP the free Photoshop type software, Photoshop-like software, I believe. And so anyways, just kind of interesting, more experimentation, kind of half representational with some plant-like stuff, but half abstract. Just interesting work. It really kind of stood out, and all this airbrush kind of work. So just interesting. From Santiago, buy for 8, edition of 20. I believe Sabato retweeted this one. He's a great follow, by the way, on Twitter if you're looking for just different kinds of art. Many images I have taken from Sabato's retweets there. So Mega Dreamcast by X Mortal, just kind of an interesting, kind of a Shiva anime type figure. And, the full 3D, kind of, I don't know if I'd call it glitchy, but just kind of video-y. And there you go. So anyways, interesting colors and everything. Video created and captured in real time using all hardware, modular video synthesizers, and vintage video mixing equipment. Interesting. So maybe this is based on a sculpture. Buy for 7, edition of 15. Here's some of X Mortal's other work. PBS, I love that. Public broadcasting here. And yeah, so just, more kind of glitch video art, for lack of a better term. And they have a new one here, Pure 6. How are we doing? We are at the 30-minute mark. Well, we cannot miss 8so. This should actually be a nice, nicely timed episode in terms of not too long. Look at how beautiful these colors are. This is a 1 of 1 by 8so, so one of the final works, at least for the time being, by 8so. I love the color here, and this is 200 Tezos 1 of 1, still available. This was minted yesterday. So if you want a 1 of 1 8so, you know where to go. And Kurt Hustle Collective with another mysterious work.
Keep flipping the channels until you find some parts you can play with.
He's got a couple of these, like, what I want to call, like, dad works telling you what to do. Words of Red Bean. There's another one here. This one here, this art sucks. So, yeah, it's almost like get off my lawn type character here. So anyways, and bad art, I missed that one too. So anyways, pretty interesting work as ever from Kurt Hustle Collective. I'll never predict what they'll put out next, and that's half of what I love about them. The other half is the art. John, with another kind of studio work, which is interesting. So he seems to be doing these, I think, daily. And so just kind of interesting color and playing with his window trope, but with the artist in the studio cutting some cardboard paper, and it looks like it's Valentine's Day, everyone. It is Valentine's Day. Cutting out some paper hearts. So isn't that cute? It looks like he's making Valentine's Day cards. I should make a card like that. Continuing on, Tom Bombattle with Golden Desert. So interesting kind of variation on this character here. So the character is going through the desert with the pyramids of Giza and a UFO, and UFOs are in the news, so maybe that has something to do with it. You see here, this almost looks like a signature here in the top left, and there's the Sphinx. So anyways, this collection continues to do super well. Let's just see, went for 6 on primary, and let's just see how quickly they're selling. 638, it was minted and sold out by 820. So I mean, still a very healthy market. I mean, selling out in an hour or so. An edition of 25, and he's putting these out pretty regularly. Naughty Fox Lab with a cool, I guess this is another Valentine's Day work, and kind of looks like reminiscent of Saint Sebastian with the arrows in it, but just one person. So very interesting. Will you be my Valentine? Cool work for 0.69 Tezo cents. Bite by bit with a few more nebulas here that kind of caught my eye. And this is Planet Pixel Fly Nebula. And of course, this is using retro tools, as I like to call them, or vintage software, PC Paint 3.1. And so very fun. The fun continues with Bite by Bit. Here's another one, Heart Nebula. So pretty awesome. And there are more. This is located in the constellation Cassiopeia. And Lorna Mills, Gracious Riverman. This is for TezQuake fundraiser, buy for 5, edition of 100. And it's a pretty cool one from Lorna Mills here with the bird staring at you in her trademark, pixelated mask here. So very cool. Huge eyes, isn't it? Aren't they? Continuing on, strange title too, Gracious Riverman. So 100% will go to the TezQuake fundraiser. And continuing on, just a cool study from Rosatio. Still from my quick 20-minute study. This one is crazier than usual. So just kind of cool work from Rosatio GM. And continuing on, and that is collage, digital collage and painting, I think. Mostly collage, I think. Does Rosatio say visual artists working with collage and drawing? Yeah, so probably a combination. Bolin 132 with a pretty cool collage, digital collage here. I was trying to figure this out, and there's digital painting, and I was like, is this digital painting? But I have a feeling, just a feeling, I don't know, but I have a feeling this is collage, like this is probably taken from somewhere and then pasted in and worked in this brushstroke here. So anyways, I thought really good looking, like I thought really effective, let's put it that way. So it's interesting to paint with Photoshop here or with your, digital art tools and using paint, a really effective version. This sold, how much? Only for 15. Sold out in 40 minutes. Another interesting digital painter here, Venta, with some more experimentation, and seems to be pushing it a little bit with so first there's a sampled, what I think are sampled brushes here. And then we just have masking here. And it's almost reminiscent of the AI. Like, it's tempting to think that the AI was the source. I'm actually working on a work right now that this is how I always sort of imagined of working on AI, is you create a composition using AI to give you that composition you like and find, and then you use that as basically a foundation, and then you, as you know, almost trace over or just use that as a reference to create your work. This kind of gives me that sensation, that sense that maybe there's an AI work that is a reference here, because it's kind of reminiscent of Venta's other AI work. So Rumble in the Jungle, either way, it looks great. Available for 6, edition of 10. And so it's a little bit of photography in AI here. So one of my photographs post-processed with AI, and this is also for TezQuakeAid, this is Spulio. And I thought just kind of a really interesting photo, because you almost see that AI edge here, and even in the sun rays. So just an interesting idea, in a sense, not just doing raw AI, AI created purely from text, but taking a photo and then enhancing it with AI. So it seems pretty effective here. Buy for a Tezos, edition of 100. And here, Kika Nicolela, also raising funds for TezQuakeAid. She's calling it synthetic photography. So very cool idea. / imagine, just like you would on Midjourney to make your prompt. So here, seemingly the theme here is an earthquake or devastation and a child looking on in black and white. Love this term, synthetic photography. I guess, it says AI art, but not sure if this is raw AI. I'm guessing it is. And here's another one from Kika Nicolela, and a similar subject. So again, these are raising funds for the quake in Turkey and Syria. Sold for 100, one of one, and that sold, within an hour. So pretty good. And finally, Danielle King with another awesome AI Polaroid. So a Polaroid camera photo made using AI. So another fake portrait using AI and done with a Polaroid. And you got to love all this stuff on top here. And just the whole quality, I mean, you totally get the sense of a Polaroid here. And let's just see if this was listed at 408 and sold basically an hour later for 50 Tezos to Christian Bach. So, the market continues to be hot here. And here, this is just a couple of works on Instagram that I found. Physical works. We've looked at Steven Schwarzer before. I think he's based out of Germany. Palmas Proletarias de Varadero. And I just wanted to highlight really nice, colored pencils, I think. And kind of getting creative with the colors of this palm tree here. Sort of an eternal subject matter, the palm tree. And look at these interesting kind of colored pixels here. So again, traveling through the mediums, one would be tempted to say here a little bit. And here's another interesting work. And again, this just screams 1970s comic book to me in the printing. And look at this. So this is Pedro Correa, ink and screen tones over Moleskine watercolor album and colors and textures on Photoshop, prints in my ink print store. So you can buy that in the store here. So look at how great that looks. And this is a screen print over a Moleskine watercolor album. So pretty interesting. And maybe we get even a little bit of the process here. Look at how great that looks. So yeah, I mean, pretty elaborate screen printing. I think this is where you use the the CMYK screen printing, where you do the dots. Is it the Bende dots? I can't remember. But anyway, pretty cool and elaborate. And here's some of the other work by Pedro. So anyways, that really stood out to me. And that's your show. As Rare says, I'm not wasting any time when I end this show, so have a great day, everyone. I hope to see you on Twitter Spaces with Gogolitus tomorrow. Until next time, take care. And this is Shilly Preston. Happy Valentine's Day, Shilly.